Hello, this is the Women's Eye podcast. I'm your host, Stacey Gualandi. Now, the Women's Eye is all about women supporting women, especially when building your money power with financial planner Catherine Scrivano. Hi, Catherine.
Hey,
Hi. This episode of our Building Money Power series is brought to you by CASCO Financial Group in Phoenix, Arizona. CASCO's president, Catherine Scrivano, started her business to help people create the financial strength to achieve their dreams. And it's you never stop, do you?
I never do.
No,
There's always
it's
things to be done.
absolutely. Well, it is just so great to see you. And obviously, when it comes to financial issues, a lot of times we ask ourselves, like, how do we donate? Who do we donate? What's the proper way to do it? Especially in light of, so many tragedies and things happening. We want to help people. We want to provide aid. That's a big thing here in Las Vegas. I mean, year round, but why is this something important? Philanthropy or the ability to give. Why is that something that's really important?
In all the years that I've been doing this and that the concentration on helping people reach financial goals, I'm very happy to tell you I can testify that most people want more out of life than just amassing wealth. They're looking beyond their personal goals, their professional goals, to living a life of significance and meaning. So when we're talking about philanthropy, we're not only talking about making donations, we're talking about ways of sharing values across generations, illustrating personal and family interests, passions, creativity. It's a really fun place to be.
But a lot of times, do you think people think, ooh, philanthropy, they think, oh, it's just for the wealthy? And maybe
Hmm.
it is, in a broad scale.
Well, that's the $10 word, philanthropy,
Okay.
but really it's not. Other words that we could apply are charity, generosity, and those really are not limited to wealthy people. Whatever we call it, we're just talking about the impulse to give and to share. So philanthropy is important to the wealthy. I've just been reading and doing a lot of work with a Bank of America study that was done in 2024 and was very interested to learn that the vast majority, over 90% of affluent Americans do donate to charities.
How much?
Over 90%.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear.
Isn't
Were you
that what? Oh,
surprised?
yeah, yeah, it's reassuring. I don't know that I was surprised, but I certainly was reassured to know that those who have are willing to share. I don't know, that helps me sleep at night a bit right now.
I know exactly. Because for those, I mean, I imagine if it's somebody says I have the means to do it, I will do it. And perhaps they would be like that even if they weren't millionaires or billionaires, I suppose, right?
Well, we find that people who we would not by any means define as affluent also are very generous and giving. They may not be giving in the significant dollar amounts, but giving a percentage of their income, a percentage of their wealth is consistent. One thing that really did interest me, though, is that women are more likely to donate than men. And when they do, they give a larger percent of their income. And they spread it across more organizations. They're not quite as targeted as men in giving.
Yeah, they're just not one and done. They like to spread the wealth, I guess. But
But, as women, yay, are starting to increase their wealth and have greater positions of leadership, they're really influencing where the money is donated and how it's giving. And women really put their money where their hearts are. They give out of personal experience toward causes they believe in. Ultra women ultra wealthy women
uh-huh.
rank philanthropy as one of their top interests over activities such as art, education, and sports. They're really, really focusing on philanthropy.
Now, why is that, do you think? I mean, because obviously, I'm sure, men are very philanthropic and donate, but why is there such a predominance of
You
women?
know, I can spend an afternoon happily looking at statistics. I realize that might be kind of an outlier. But it is interesting to me that women do, like I say, they tend to donate a higher percentage of their resources, and they really focus on personal or political beliefs. And very often, personal experience influences the decision to donate. I can speak to that specifically. In my life, I have been influenced just in the last year or so by three people close to me, three women very close to me who are experiencing ovarian cancer. The opportunity has come about for me on Saturday to walk and ask for sponsorships to walk up South Mountain, and all of the money goes to cancer research. So you can see that I'm channeling my personal experience into a philanthropic endeavor. And that just, it feels very natural and appropriate to me. And I can extrapolate my experience to the broader experience of women. And it just seems right, very familiar.
Yeah, so and it's funny because I have been involved in a lot of hosting different charity events, but also there are just certain I always say there's certain charities that speak to me more than others. So I
Mm,
think that that's got to be a big driving force as well.
yeah.
That is a primary motivation, but I imagine yeah that there's probably a lot of other motivations too.
Yeah, there's real pragmatic reasons as well. So let's take our heart out of the picture for a minute and talk about pragmatic and practical reasons for philanthropy. One is you might be able to mitigate taxes. So you could imagine that as we talk about the affluent, they're always looking for ways to reduce their tax burden. And thank goodness one of the ways is being able to do so through philanthropy. You might find goals, passions, values, and traditions that you really want to see thrive. And one way to do that is to support those things financially. Sometimes we get involved in certain charities or organizations for social or business reasons, and the access to those is through philanthropy. That's a little bit more strategic, but certainly valid. I think developing skills and knowledge through our experiences. But also, I think in my personal practice, what I've seen more than anything is people wanting to make an impact and leave a legacy. So
Okay.
even when they're gone, their family, their community is able to recognize their efforts, and philanthropy or charity is a wonderful way to do that.
Is that that is something too that you do talk to your clients about in terms of let's figure out a place where you can be philanthropic, right?
Very often they're doing it anyway,
Okay.
um, and it becomes part of the financial plan, part of their goals. Our role might be to help them figure out a way to do it strategically. There are a couple of ways that we can talk about where getting more money to the charity while still reserving money for your family. Uh, it's really just a matter of beneficiary designations and titling. So someone like in my role might be able to help you do what you were going to do anyway, but make a bigger impact.
A lot of I mentioned this earlier too that there's so many things going on right now in the country that where people need help and we're donating and like the fires in Los Angeles and trying to be most effective and smart about where we donate too. How best to navigate that, to make sure that
You know what?
it's you're more bang for your buck.
Sure. I'm going to give a real quick shout out to the Women's Eye. I subscribe and encourage anyone listening who doesn't already subscribe to the newsletter. And the Women's Eye's newsletter, I'm going to say about a month ago, had some information about what was going on in the Los Angeles, those terrible wildfires, including a list of places to donate to help those folks. For me, that was just so efficient to be able to look at that list and find what was meaningful to me. So again, just finding what's important to you. And I was not being proactive in looking for a place to donate. But once the idea was in my head, it was lovely and efficient to be able
It's
to do
right
so.
there.
So,
Yeah.
so shout out to the women's side to make that very easy for me. But there are a lot of strategies. Again, we don't have to think about just being wealthy. Uh, Most folks can afford in some way to make some small donation in a systematic way. So you may not be able to give a lot of money in one big hunk. You might not be able to write one big check, but perhaps if that were smaller donations on a systematic basis from your bank account or from your uh, payroll account, sometimes those little bites of the elephant can be easier. And speaking of payroll, be sure to see if you can increase the impact of your donation through employer matching programs. Many of
Okay.
the employers will match their employee contributions to charities. I
I
mentioned
see that a lot in
earlier,
a lot of the charities that that
yeah,
I've worked with, that they'll say, "Hey, if you do this, we'll match that."
I,
Yeah.
I think it's very underutilized. I'm glad that the charities that you're working with are being proactive in reminding people it might be available to them because they may be unaware or learned it in their employee orientation a long time ago, but have forgotten since. So it's worth going back to look at. I mentioned earlier the opportunity to list a charity as a beneficiary. You might do that with a life insurance policy, with the proceeds from an IRA, a 401k, that kind of thing. And I'm not suggesting that you disinherit your family, but
Yeah.
if you're going to make selections about money donated to charity versus money going to your family, let the money in a IRA or a 401k go to the charity because guess what? They don't pay tax on it, where your family is going to receive it. And other than a spouse, there's going to be a tax impact to that person. So that dilutes the amount of money that they get. So if you have two buckets of dollars, make sure that you're being tax efficient with what you give to your family versus what you're giving to the charity. Another thing that's quite common here in the Valley in Phoenix, and I don't know about in Las Vegas, but I love giving circles where
Okay.
members all contribute a set
Yes.
amount of money and that they meet and vote on the charitable recipient. And usually there'll be one or two charities who make a presentation, ask for consideration, and then the members vote where that month's or that quarter's, whatever, will be the recipient of those dollars. And it's a lovely social event. It's a great way
It's
to
like a
meet
book club,
like-minded
but yeah.
people. Exactly, exactly. It's terrific. Something that people often don't think about is donating stocks, publicly traded securities, collectibles, other assets. It's a very efficient way, again, a very tax efficient way to make donations. My only caveat, other than, of course, always check with your tax consultant if tax motivation is
That
part
there
of
isn't
your,
any
your
kind of a burden,
strategy.
yeah, that comes back.
But the
Yeah.
other thing is make sure the charity is capable of receiving it. You don't want to leave them something that they can't use. So make sure that they have a gift recipient policy and that your donation will be consistent with that. And then the last thing that costs nothing is donate your time and your talent. Uh, Boards of directors always need resources.
Done. Yeah.
show, show up to the events, just roll up your sleeves and pack the lunches or sort the clothing or whatever talent that you might have that costs you nothing more than the time. I promise you, you're going to feel really good. It's time well spent, and you are going to be surrounded by really great people who, like you, care about this cause. I can't think of anything better, really.
Yeah, I mean, we have seen hundreds of thousands of examples of that just this year alone, in terms of, again, in the wake of tragedies, and
Mhm.
people really do rally, to help. But how important, though, I imagine it's probably very important, but how important is it to research charities before actually donating or making a gift to a charity?
Want to make sure that the charity is legitimate. We also encourage you to investigate how many of the dollars actually reach the intended recipients. There are administrative costs that's bound to be a factor, but are you comfortable with the amount that's going to administration? You can look at your local attorney general's office. There's on the internet, you can look for GuideStar, which
Hmm.
will give you a lot of information, like I just mentioned about
Yeah, I've never heard of
administrative
that
costs.
before. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it's a great resource. Uh, Better Business Bureau has what's called a Wise Giving Alliance. The Federal Trade Commission also, that's going to be ftc.gov, and an organization called Charity Navigator. And once again, those are going to establish the legitimacy of the organization. It's going to tell you if all of their required regulatory filings are current. So if they are in good standing, and something I feel that most people are concerned about is the cost of administration, an appropriate percentage of their income. We know it takes money to run these organizations, but we want the bulk of the money ending
Yeah,
up for the
that's
intended recipients. And so you can make your own judgment about what's appropriate or not, but they need to disclose that. So here's some opportunities for you to do the research before you give.
absolutely. Is there a minimum amount of money or ballpark that we should be donating on an annual basis, or is it just
Feel
personal?
I feel the term meaningful is appropriate,
Okay.
whatever is meaningful to you. And for some people, a dollar is too much, but an hour is something that they can give. If that's meaningful, then please find that hour. Take your kids, take your grandkids, show them what in itself is a wonderful investment in the future.
Absolutely. And it's just, should just women just keep empowering women, or should we try to push men to start donating more, or no?
I don't know. That's probably not my job. Again, I'm the statistic nerd. I'm just looking in the back and saying, "Oh, this is what happens." I think it's very interesting, though, that women tend to be more generous and just more community focused than their male counterparts. But by golly, yeah, you guys keep doing it too.
Exactly. Is there any particular, philanthropy or something that we should really all be focusing on at this point, or
Right.
take a lead from someone that
Do
is
I know what's
always a
important to me?
positive?
Well, look at, you may not emulate, but learn from what others are doing. I think it's very interesting that I'm just going to shout out to Mackenzie Scott. She does not, with her great wealth, which she acquired through being a co-founder of Amazon, she does not have a foundation that has grants that charities apply to. What
Mm-hmm.
she does is go out in the world and look who's doing good work, and very quietly and behind the scenes evaluating them and then just sending them money. I mean, isn't that great? Because the
Yes.
charities, when we talk about cost of administration, part of that is finding folks who are qualified to search for grants, apply for grants, et cetera. I mean, there's a cost to that. But can you imagine being a charity doing great work and all of a sudden
All of a sudden,
having Mackenzie Scott's
and you're like,
organization call you and say,
yes,
"Hey, we got some money for you. Keep doing it. Keep doing what you do." I
that's
mean,
amazing.
it's a unique approach, and
Yes.
and personally speaks to me. I think it's just lovely. Nothing against the way it's done otherwise, but I
Yeah.
just
But
kind of love the way
we
that
need
she's
more
doing.
Mackenzie Scotts, right?
We need a lot more. Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, this is fantastic. So, I mean, obviously, I've become more charitable in the time I've been in Las Vegas. So, I think that's a good thing. So, I
Really, that's a
appreciate
great
all of.
influence.
Yeah, I try, even a little bit,
Well,
but thank you.
in following what you do, I would like to speak as a global citizen, and thank you for what you do because I do see you out there making it happen a lot. And yeah, we need more Mackenzies and more Stacys.
Uh, It's like, I can't compete with Mackenzie, but I'll try.
You're meaningful. Remember the word meaningful. You're
Meaningful. That's
fulfilling.
so true. I just wrote it down. So, well, Catherine, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate it. And for all
Thank
of
you.
you, if you need more fun financial facts and to find out more about Catherine, you can just go to our website at thewomenseye.com. And there on our site, you'll also find our books. We have 20 women change makers. I think we'll have to add Mackenzie. You could just shop wherever you buy books and at changemakersbook.com. And we also have, whoop, 20 women storytellers. This one is at womenstorytellersbook.com. Now, don't forget to subscribe to our newsletter and our YouTube channel. Yes, you can watch us as well as listen to us. Again, thanks, Catherine, so much. I really always love all of your advice and I follow your lead. and to all of you for tuning in to the Women's Eye podcast. Keep building your money power. I'm Stacey Gualandi, and remember, it's the world as we see it.